Alright, fellow Trekkies and Trekkers, well, it's time for the second episode review of the day, which is Distant Voices. Dr. Bashir and Liam Garak are having their usual lunch together in the Replimat as Garak produces a gift for Bashir, a Cardassian Enigma Tale holonovel. Although Bashir usually enjoys mystery novels, he confesses his dislike for Cardassian ones, as the suspects are always guilty. Garak points out that the challenge is to figure out who is guilty of what. Bashir reveals that he feels glum because it is his 30th birthday, a sign in human culture that one has lost one's youth, which contrasts the Cardassian view that growing old is a sign of power and dignity. The conversation is interrupted when Quark approaches with a Lethian companion named Altovar, who is interested in purchasing biomimetic gel. Everyone present knows purchasing the gel is illegal under Federation law, but Lethian convinced Quark to bring his request to Bashir. He offers to buy the gel at any price, storming off angrily when Bashir firmly refuses. Later, Bashir returns to the infirmary, where he finds Altovar has broken in and is ransacking the place. When Bashir confronts him and asks what he thinks he is doing, the Lethian grabs his head, releasing electrical discharge of some kind, and absconds with the gel, leaving Bashir falling to the floor, unconscious. When he awakens, Bashir finds the computers offline and will not respond. The lights are flickering, and he is alone. He wanders out to the darkened promenade, which is deserted, but notices his reflection in a mirror and observes that his hair is somewhat gray. In Quark's, he finds the Ferengi clutching a serving tray cowering behind the bar, hiding from someone in the shadows. Quark claims whoever it is going to kill everyone, but before he can answer any more questions, he runs off. Whoever's in the shadows hurls chairs in every direction, so Bashir follows suit and leaves. Garak surprises Bashir when he reaches the security office, both of them mistaking the other for an intruder. It seems all the station systems except life support and basic functions are offline, which Garak suggests might be the result of a virus, anomaly, or a Dominion attack. However, Bashir is interrupted by faint, indistinguishable voices. Garak hears no voices, but observes how gray, no more so than previously, Bashir's hair is becoming. Bashir opens a weapons locker and gives himself and Garak a phaser. The two of them split up, Garak searching the docking ring, while Bashir searches the habitat ring in Central Core. Wandering through a corridor and looking in empty rooms of the Palm Beacon, Bashir hears something behind him. One by one, the lights in the corridor begin to shut down, a trail of darkness chasing him as he moves. He soon runs into a force field and is trapped. Bashir narrowly escapes into a turbo lift, barely getting away from Altovar, the Lethian from before. There's a military piece turbo lift descends before the Lethian can be heard pounding on the roof, attempting to break through. Bashir leaves and makes it to the wardroom, where he finds Chief O'Brien, Lieutenant Dax, Major Kira, and Constable Odo all arguing with each other. Bashir is glad to see familiar faces, but each person seems somehow out of character. O'Brien's pessimistic and afraid, while Dax seems all too eager to face the Lethian with a phaser. Odo does not trust anyone, and Kira is frustrated with the entire group. However, Bashir is unable to scan the room for anomalies since the computer is down, so they head for a cargo bay where O'Brien believes he can access the proper components to get the station up and running. In the cargo bay, the officers continue to bicker while O'Brien attempts to make his repairs. Bashir is still convinced something has affected the others, although from the voices he is hearing and the fact that he appears 60 rather than 30, Kira believes he is the one with the problem. Strangely, O'Brien picks up an audio-only signal from an unknown source, in which Dax appears to be discussing Bashir's condition. He is in a coma and will die within hours. A tricorder scan reveals only delta waves from Bashir. It appears the voices are correct. Bashir finds no life signs from the others. He deduces they are different parts of his brain, and thus he is talking to himself. O'Brien has a sense of doubt, Kira has a sense of aggression, Odo is a sense of suspicion, and Dax is a sense of confidence and adventure. However, as he figures this out, Altovar emerges through the side of a nearby container and disappears with Dax. Moving toward Dax, Bashir suddenly finds himself playing tennis with Garak on the promenade. It seems the station is Bashir's mind, and Altovar is the force which is killing him. Garak, an aftertaste for Bashir's sense of intrigue, seems pessimistic but continues to agree, searching while Bashir heads for ops. The station worsens as Bashir progresses. Wounded people in a corridor, and he finds Sisko there, Nurse Jabara, trying to heal him just as Bashir might. Naturally, Sisko has a sense of professionalism. The commander agrees to help Bashir, who is aged yet again, get to Ops, but moments later Altovar pulls Sisko to a nearby wall, disappearing once again. Bashir runs, but runs into Altovar, who states he wants to systematically destroy Bashir's mind and then kill him. Bashir runs away and Altovar yells out that he can run, but eventually he will not be able to outrun death. Shortly thereafter, Bashir finds a dead Kira and melting Odo, both of whom have fallen victim to the Lethean. As Odo dies, he advises Bashir to use the conduits to get to Ops quicker. Although unsure whether he is going the wrong way, Bashir is determined to find Ops. His hopes rise when he finds O'Brien and access conduit junction, but this version of the chief, Bashir's sense of fear and doubt, does not want to face the Lethean. He advises Bashir which way to go, and reluctantly agrees to go along despite Bashir's rapidly accelerated aging. At the junction where Bashir should emerge at Ops, he finds himself on the promenade again, this time outside Quark's, where something important seems to be going on. People are gathered around a table in which Bashir finds his unconscious body. Quark explains that he's taking bets on everything for how long Bashir will live, to which organ will fail first. The conversation is interrupted by dismayed cries from the crowd as O'Brien's lifeless body appears in place of Bashir's. Lethean appears once Quark calls off the bets, killing the Ferengi and informing Bashir that he is next. The now decrepit doctor runs as best as he can to the promenade. Bashir falls next to Garak, but he breaks his hip due to his advanced age. Garak does not see how Bashir will fix the station if he's hardly able to walk. Nonetheless, he agrees to help Bashir get to Ops, observing how stubborn his friend is. The pair eventually make it to Ops, where there's a surreal feeling. A banger hangs in the other deserted room, proclaiming, "Happy birthday, Julian!" And a beautiful Bajoran woman in a skin-tight outfit approaches, singing "Happy Birthday" to you. Joining in, Garak congratulates Bashir on having a fascinating mind once the song is over. The doctor is still determined to fix the station despite Garak's continued pessimism. When he opens the panel, he does not find circuitry but tennis balls, which fall on him. As Garak reiterates the hopelessness of the situation, Bashir confronts him, claiming he does not belong and demanding to know who he really is. Garak transforms into Altovar. Before Bashir can make it to a turbolift, Altovar confronts him about his past failures. The way he quit tennis to become a doctor because his parents would not approve. The way he intentionally missed a question on a preganglion fiber for postganglionic nerve so he would be second rather than first in his class because of the pressure. The way he has never acted on his feelings for Dax, which seems to wound Bashir because he knows Altovar is right. However, he activates the turbolift and leaves. Make his way to the infirmary, Bashir appears to know what he is doing. Altovar joins him, confused. Although Ops is the center of the real world, Bashir explains that the infirmary is the center of his. Since Altovar has not killed him, he continues to persist as it appears he must give in for the Lethean to win. Finally, he opens the panel and fixes the computer. Sudden lights come on and the computer begins working, and Bashir activates the quarantine feeder on Altovar. He then tells the computer to begin sterilization, which causes Altovar to disappear. Bashir now wakes up in a hospital gown lying on a bed in the infirmary, having cured himself. Sisko, Dax, Jabbar, and the others are amazed to see him alive. The next day, Bashir and Garak resume their lunches together as usual, and the topic of discussion is Bashir's experience with Altovar, who in the rear world tripped a security alarm and was quickly apprehended by Odo. As Bashir muses he was likely to survive his ordeal, Garak tells his friend that Cardassians do not believe in luck, and it was Bashir's strength that saw him through the nightmare. Bashir then says that after being 100 years old in his mind, he decides that being 30 is not so bad after all. Garak responds by toasting to his birthday. Garak then brings up on how Bashir's mind subconsciously betrayed him. Surprised after all this time, his human friend still does not seem to trust him. As Bashir fumbles for an explanation, Garak reaches out for his arm, grins, and says, "There's hope for you yet." Okay then. So let's take a look at some continuity surrounding this episode. Other episodes that feature similar makeup process by which a character ages include The Inner Light, All Good Things, The Visitor, and Before and After. While it's never explained in this episode which aspect of Bashir was represented by Quark, the episode does hold some clues as to what it might have been. When Bashir first meets Quark, Quark tells him, "Don't you see? If we move, he'll find us." Not only is this what happens exactly after, but only in the end does Bashir realize he should have stayed in the infirmary all along. When Bashir meets Quark for the second time, Bashir is holding bets to predict when the doctor will die, and what part of him will go first. As a result, O'Brien ends up taking Bashir's place as subject of bets and dies. As a shady, begeared character who is well aware of most everything going on in the station, next to Odo, Gorr could be something alike to Bashir's insight. Linking this episode with Search Part 2, we can see resemblances in Garrick's behavior. The common point between those two mental experiences being Bashir, it can be assumed that Garrick's bravery and helpfulness in Search Part 2 is partly a projection of Bashir's perception of him, also reflected in Garrick giving him his dying words, a taste of a tragedy that had already been seen in If Wishes Were Horses, his fantasy of Ziad dying. Also echoed in his liking of Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, as mentioned in Probable Cause. Distant Voices keeps in tune with the Search Part 2 as we get to see a projection of caring, protective Garrick again. Additionally, beyond his facade of kind tailor, Garrick is a home-longing exiled Cardassian, just as Bashir longs to recover his body and life in Distant Voices. And since The Wire, Bashir knows just how much pain Garrick endures from being stuck on DS9. The close relationship between Taylor and the Doctor sets Garrick as a target for Lethian to try and manipulate Bashir by corrupting the projection of Garrick. For all those reasons, Garrick could be Bashir's determination and endurance. Another reason why the Lethian would target this aspect in particular, as his goal was to trick Bashir into giving up. This episode references Bashir's Academy mistake that was previously mentioned in the first season episode Keyless, and later be clarified in the fifth season episode Dr. Bashir, I presume. In Keyless, Bashir relates the story for the first time about mixing a pre-ganglionic fiber and post-ganglionic nerve in his final exams, a mistake which cost him his position as valedictorian in his medical class. In this episode, Aldevar points out that a pre-ganglionic fiber and a post-ganglionic nerve are nothing alike, and says that Bashir purposely answered the question incorrectly to avoid the pressure of being top in his class. However, in Dr. Bashir, I presume, Bashir is revealed to be genetically enhanced, with that deliberate mistake in the exam being retconned to be an example of how he concealed this. This inconsistency is due to the fact that the plot point for Bashir being genetically enhanced wasn't storyboarded until at least late 1996, with the writers at that time of this episode's writing being unsure of where to take the character, as related by Siddiq himself. This is the first 2 consecutive episodes to feature no scenes with the real Kira or O'Brien, but only alternate versions of them. The representations of them in Bashir's mind this episode and the mirror universe counterparts intended Kira Nerys and Smile O'Brien in Through the Looking Glass. Despite the fact that Bashir was an avid tennis player in his youth, this is the only episode of Deep Space Nine in which we see Bashir actually playing tennis. If we're in Garrick's Your Service line that Garrick was serving, Bashir won the abbreviated match Love 15. So overall, I think this is a pretty interesting episode, and I like the fact that we get to take a peek into Bashir's mind, which is kind of interesting, so yeah. So overall, I give Distant Voices 5 warp cores out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in a bit as we take a look at the next episode, Through the Looking Glass. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.